So
when I met him, that he was special. He'd come in, and I worked at the Emporium, and so did he. And he'd come in and tell me the dumbest jokes you could ever hear. The worst jokes ever.
He wants to walk into the boardroom of Bayer and say, all right, we own this place now, and here's how we're going to run it. That was Ernee. I mean, what does you say about a guy like that? I mean, it's just terrific. And he always was very helpful, and I thought we'd never be able to work something out with him. I was very concerned. But you know, I found we're the community that they have a great feeling for one another. When chips are down, they'll come through for one another. And it does seem like it's going to happen, but it always seems to. And I've had to give advice to a lot of people in the hemophilia community that I didn't want to give because we didn't have what I felt was sufficient evidence to really win a convincing victory in court. It was always so because of what we were up against. And that's kind of what I've made my life a career, and that is to expose this. And I think we may be getting to the end of a long, long road. It's been a terrific struggle, but the disturbing part about it is that it's complicated. There's a lot of different factors involved. It's not only the drug companies, it's the physicians who are prescribing the drug and over-enthusiastic about it and then try to cover up their negligence. So they're willing to come in and testify against their own patients. It's unfortunately the U.S. government, which, because they didn't force the fractionators to obey the safety regulations, and it was so glaring that they in fact became apologists for the companies and would come in and act as experts for them in court. And the topper, the one we're still battling, is this business of doing a statistical study with so-called geniuses at the National Institute of Health to try to show that everybody was infected before anybody knew that HIV was in the world. And this is a tough thing to battle because in our system, if they can show it was more likely than not that someone was infected before we even knew HIV was in the world, it's very, very difficult for an attorney to prevail in a civil trial. Unfortunately, the judges in these cases have been very uninterested, most of them. They don't know anything about the hemophilia community. They feel that the hemophilia community should be very grateful, even for the fact that they have the privilege of walking around on this earth. And that any years of life that were given to them by the pharmaceutical companies were years that they wouldn't have had, even as bad as the product was. And now that I've got to know people like Ernee, I know how false that is.